It started as a tractor and became the deadliest predator on Earth. Today, we track the complete evolution of American armor across every single era. This is the story of U.S. tanks, starting off with World War I, an early interwar CLB-75. This weird prototype was essentially a tractor wearing a steel box. It looked more like a moving shipping container than a fighting machine. Old, gas, electric. America's first tank attempt was a gas-electric hybrid, way ahead of its time. Sadly, it was too heavy and clunky to survive the Great War's mud. Skeleton tank. This bizarre machine was mostly air. Designers used iron pipes for a massive frame, hoping to cross wide trenches without getting stuck or weighed down. Ford Threaton M1918. Basically, the Model T of tanks. Small, cheap, and designed for swarms. It was meant to overwhelm enemies, but the war ended before mass production began. Then M1917 light tank series, essentially a licensed copy of the French Renault FT. This tank became the backbone of early American armor, serving loyally 4 years after the war ended. Mark 8 Liberty, a colossal joint effort between Britain and America. This behemoth was so long it could span wide trenches, but its sheer size made it a logistical nightmare. M1921 medium tank. An important shift from tiny tanks, this model featured a fully rotating turret. It helped set the stage for almost all future tank development. M1922 medium tank. This evolution focused on suspension using a complex cable system. It was supposed to make the ride smoother, but mostly just made maintenance a headache. Up next, T1 light tank series. These 1920s experiments tested new ideas. They were surprisingly fast for the time, but lacked the heavy armor needed to survive actual combat. T1 Christie M1919. Designed by the legendary Walter Christie, this radical convertible ran on tracks or wheels. It was incredibly fast on roads, but the military found it too weird. T2 medium tank. A heavy, boxy prototype trying to force a large cannon and machine guns together. Ultimately, it was just too heavy and underpowered to actually work well. Next up, interwar period. M1931. Christie. Walter Christie's masterpiece. Its revolutionary suspension allowed it to literally fly over rough ground at speeds totally unheard of in the early 1930s. M1 light tank series. To bypass legal rules, the cavalry called these combat cars instead of tanks. They were fast, lightly armored speedsters focused entirely on scouting missions. M2 light tank series. The direct ancestor to the famous Stuart. Early versions had multiple turrets like a battleship, but it eventually settled on a reliable standard layout. T4 medium tank. A fast, medium tank borrowing Christie's suspension. It showed promise on roads, but threw a tantrum whenever the ground turned into a muddy mess. Up next, T7 combat car. An experiment in extreme speed using wheels. It was lightning fast on flat ground, but lacked the versatility to be a real frontline tank. N to medium tank series. This tank was a machine gun porcupine, pointing in every direction. It wasn't a great fighter, but it taught designers what a medium tank should actually be. Marmon, Harrington, CTLS series. Tiny light tanks built mostly for export. They weren't powerful, but were cheap. Easy to build and simple to maintain during the chaotic early war. Next up, World War II M3 Stuart series. Famous for speed and reliability, British crews affectionately nicknamed this light tank Honey. It became a favorite for scouting missions throughout the entire Second World War. MTLS-1G 14. A strange design with 2 main cannons and 1 turret. Originally built for the Dutch, it ended up mostly as a quirky trainer for American forces. CTMs, another export design that saw limited use. This 3-man light tank tried to pack a punch, but never really found its place in the U.S. arsenal. Now, this is the M3 Lee Grant series. A tall, awkward stopgap with a massive gun in the hull. Not the turret. It looked funny, but brought desperate firepower when the Allies needed it most. Next, M4 Sherman series. The legendary backbone of Allied victory. Neither the heaviest nor most powerful, it won by being reliable, repairable, and produced in absolutely staggering numbers. M6 Heavy Tank Series. America's first real attempt at a heavy tank. It was massive and well-armed, but sadly, too fat for most bridges to actually handle T7 Light M7. Medium Series started as a light tank but ate too much and became a medium. It couldn't compete with the Sherman, so the project was cancelled. T20, T2, T2. 3 medium series experimental replacements for the Sherman, featuring lower profiles and fancy transmissions. They paved the way for the next generation of American armor. Then M5 Stuart series, an upgrade to early light tanks with twin Cadillac engines. Exceptionally fast, it stayed useful long after heavier armor outclassed it. Then M22 Locust. This tiny tank could be carried in a glider. Meant to support paratroopers, its paper-thin armor made it very vulnerable once it hit the ground. T14 Heavy Tank, a joint British project to create a heavily armored assault tank. Only a few prototypes were built before everyone decided mobility was more important. M24 Chaffee, a huge leap forward. With a powerful 75mm gun and silky smooth suspension, the Chaffee was a highly effective scout and fighter. M26 Persing series. Finally, a heavy hitter that could punch back at German Tigers. It arrived late but proved to be a formidable modern tank design. T26 E4 Super Persing. This was an experimental Persing variant. Its oversized gun introduced significant balance issues due to its extreme weight. T28 T95 Super Heavy Tank. Lesser tank, more a moving fortress. Incredibly slow, it needed 4 sets of tracks just to support its massive weight and thick armor. T29 Heavy Tank Series. Designed to hunt King Tigers, this monster featured a massive turret. It never saw combat, but its DNA influenced many Cold War designs. Up next, T30 Heavy Tank. A heavy tank variant equipped with a massive 155mm gun. It was designed for sheer demolition power against the toughest enemy bunkers. T32 Heavy Tank Series. Essentially a Persing on steroids. It used similar parts but featured much thicker armor and a more powerful long-range cannon for sniping. T34 Heavy Tank. The final post-war Heavy Tank Evil. It featured a converted anti-aircraft gun and credible armor-piercing capabilities for the time. Continuing with early Cold War and Korea M46 Patton series. The first tank named after Patton, an improved Persing with a much better engine. It served as the main battle tank during the Korean War. T41 Light Tank. This experimental scout eventually evolved into the Walker Bulldog, designed to be fast, agile, and light enough to be thrown out of an airplane. M41 Walker Bulldog series, a successful light tank known for agility and a punchy gun. It saw extensive service globally and was a crew favorite for being easy to drive. Now, this is the T42 medium tank, meant to replace older medium tanks. The hull was mediocre, but the turret was so good it was eventually stolen for the M47 pattern. M47 Pattern series, a hybrid Frankenstein design, combining a new turret with an older hull to rush it into production during the height of the Cold War. M48 Pattern series, a completely new design that became the icon of the Vietnam era. It featured a rounded turtle hull and turret for excellent protection. T54 Medium series, attempting to stuff a massive gun into a medium chassis. It used an oscillating turret to maximize firepower without making the tank huge. Up next, T69 Medium Tank. A unique experiment with a bobbing oscillating turret and It was part of a push to automate tanks and shrink the crew size. T92 Light Tank. An incredibly low-profile tank designed to parachute into battle. It looked sci-fi, but was ultimately cancelled for more versatile, boring designs. T95 Medium Tank Series. A high-tech playground for smoothbore guns and composite armor. Many of its innovations eventually found their way into the legendary Abrams M103 Heavy Tank Series, the last American heavy tank. This giant was designed to snipe Soviet tanks from long range with a massive 120mm cannon. T57 Heavy Tank, an experimental heavy tank with a weird oscillating turret designed to rapid-fire heavy shells. The technology was just too complex to work. Now, this is the T58 Heavy Tank, even bigger than before. This prototype featured a massive 155mm gun and an oscillating turret. It was a true heavyweight champion. Then T110 Heavy Tank Series design studies meant to squeeze a heavy tank into a small package to fit through tunnels. An ambitious claustrophobic engineering challenge. Now let's look at late Cold War and Vietnam. M60 Patton Series. The Cold War workhorse. The first true U.S. main battle tank. It served 4 decades, seeing countless upgrades over its very long life. M551 Sheridan Series. A light, airdroppable tank firing shells and missiles made of aluminium to save weight. It was basically a soda can with a gun. MBT-70. A sci-fi joint project between the US and Germany. Packed with futuristic gadgets, it sadly became too expensive and complex to build. XM803, a budget version of the ambitious MBT-70. It tried to keep the cool features while making it practical for mass production. M60A2 Starship, nicknamed the Starship for its futuristic design. This M60 variant featured a massive 152mm gun launcher that could fire both shells and missiles, but the complex system proved unreliable in the field. Now, this is the M1 Abrams series, the tank that redefined warfare. With a jet turbine engine and incredible armor, it set a new standard for speed and lethality. RDF-LT, a rapid deployment light tank designed for air travel. It featured a high-velocity gun and a tiny profile to stay hidden while scouting. HEMAG, an experimental high-mobility vehicle testing advanced suspension. It was more of a science laboratory on wheels than an actual combat tank. Expeditionary tank designed for the Marines. It featured a ghost turret and a powerful gun focusing on being light enough for quick transport. Stingray Light Tank Series, a private venture that found export success. It offered main battle tank firepower on a much lighter, Sportair mobile chassis. M1A1. Abrams Series, the big upgrade giving Abrams its famous 120mm smoothball gun. This version became a Gulf War icon for its total battlefield dominance. Finally, we have modern and current M1A2 Abrams Series, bringing the Abrams into the digital age. This version added advanced sensors, thermal sights, and better internet for the battlefield. M8 Armored Gun System Series, intended to replace the Sheridan, featuring modular armor U-Bolton. Sadly, it was a victim of post-Cold War budget cuts. LV-105 attempting to strap a powerful tank gun onto a wheeled vehicle. Designed for speed, it unfortunately never moved past the prototype stage. Now, this is the Abrams TTB, an experiment placing the crew deep in the hole for safety. The turret was totally unmanned and operated remotely like a video game. M1CATB, a massive testbed for future tech. It featured a gargantuan 140mm gun meant to stay ahead of any evolving threats. XM202 mounted combat system. Part of the future combat systems. It was meant to be a lightweight, highly worked, smart tank deployable anywhere in the world. Next, Griffin II, a modern light tank combining Abrams power with a lighter chassis. It serves as the foundation for the new mobile protected firepower M10 Booker series, the newest U.S. Arsenal edition. It provides heavy fire support for infantry, finally filling the mobility gap that existed for decades. Up next, Abrams X, a sci-fi demonstrator with a hybrid electric engine and unmanned turret. It is much lighter and saves gas compared to standard models. M1E3 Abrams series, the next major leap. It focuses on losing weight and improving survivability against modern threats like drones and missiles.